Welcome to the Love Pod, where inspiration, vision, and real connection come alive. Wherever you are, you belong here.
Munira, we're so pleased to have you here in our Love Pod space. It's been a pleasure just getting to know you in the last few moments, and really you have such a wonderful mission in our world to amplify people's stories and their voices. You're also known as the Niche Navigator. So I just want to welcome you to the Love Pod, and I'd love for you to just introduce yourself to our audience and let us know more about yourself and what's brought you here today.
Greetings from Chicagoland. Hi, everybody. I am Munira Zahabi. I am known as the Niche Navigator. I've done this work for 8 years, and I am in the process of rebranding and helping coaches, entrepreneurs, and authors, if you're an author,
Hmm.
give your business a voice. And, this is such a wonderful. First of all, thank you, Nathaniel and Julia, for having me on your podcast. This is such a wonderful platform to be on and allow us to express our views as
Hmm.
well. Thank
Hmm.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I mean, to me, you have this beautiful cross section of empowering people's voices through storytelling. You're also an entrepreneur yourself, and we love giving voice to conscious entrepreneurs and educators like yourself who are really uplifting the people around them. So, how did you find? I mean, most people spend so much time looking like, "What's my niche? What's my niche?" And your niche is niche. So how did what drew you to this, and what's the fuel, the why behind doing what you do?
So, I was laid off from my job, corporate job,
Mm,
wonderful job. I found two different jobs after that, and I wasn't very happy with it. Just trying to figure out where in the world do I belong?
mm,
And I have a past like everybody else, and I have a story to tell.
mm,
Then I met somebody, and I don't even remember his name, but I met him on LinkedIn. We had a call on Skype. Remember, those were the days of
mm,
Skype. And he told me, he goes, "You need a coach."
mm,
I said, "Okay." And I said, "Where do I find a coach?" So I went looking and I found several different coaches. And one thing I resonated with John Maxwell team
mhm.
because they were new and they were embracing people, and their content is available for free for life, no, available to you for life, right?
Okay, okay,
Other people were $17,000 per year, and you wouldn't get access to their content afterwards.
okay.
So so there was different coaches, and then
Yep,
there were some people who just wanted the money and they ran with it, and
yep.
that has happened to me too. So I joined the Maxwell team. I became a coach, and of course, once you become a coach, you feel you're invincible. You can take on the world, right?
Mm, mhm,
And then, alongside that, there were other coaches who had other programs, and they invited me into. And lo and behold, I found myself in a mastermind with Think and Grow Rich with 28 other people. Actually, there was more people, but we did the first round, we did the second round, third round. Later, he said we all need to go to New York to see Carnegie Hall
okay.
and all meet. We need to meet. So 28 of us congregated and we had a session. So every evening we would do something fun, and then in the morning we would have sessions. They were all coaches.
Hmm.
All of them had a different path they wanted to take, but none of them were very sound and confident about what they
Mm,
wanted to do.
okay.
Every time everybody was sitting on the hot seat, they realized, um, I realized that they're not seeing it. I
Hmm.
see exactly what they should be doing, but they're not seeing it. And
Hmm.
until they see it, you can't change anybody's thinking.
Yeah.
You're a new parent, so that's what's going to happen. I mean, as a parent, you're going to see your kids making mistakes, but
Mm,
until they make the mistakes or they don't see it themselves, they're not going to think they're making the mistake.
mhm,
So with all of that said, I started after the whole conference was over and we all went home, I started talking to them one-on-one. There were some people who were a few more steps ahead of me. Some people were just starting out, so just having a conversation was what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
When I talked to them without the Zoom call, they were very apprehensive about sharing their stories with me.
Okay.
But the minute I put a mic into their face, they started telling me stuff. So just pour out of them, just things. We would have conversations. One of them was at least 5 hours long.
Okay, wow.
I mean, we just talked, and it was like, whoa, so much stuff. But what they failed to understand is they were trying to figure out what other people were doing, but not what they should be doing and what they had. So every time you, as a niche navigator, I look for the hidden gold within you. What is it that you have? What is it that what you have in your closet or in your pantry that you can make something out of? Like, for example, if I came to your house as a guest and you were like, she came unannounced, but she's here for dinner, what am I going to make? I wasn't planning to do anything.
Yeah.
So you're going to open your fridge and you say, I have eggs, I have pasta, I have this, I have that. And then you're going to concoct something, right?
Yeah.
You have to take inventory of what you need.
Yeah.
So in the process of talking to these 28 people, I started giving them direction to what they should be doing because I saw the gold they had.
Yeah.
And they were like, I don't understand. So for example, I had one girl who had just lost her husband. She had lost her husband and she had come there trying to figure out what she was doing. But in the process, she had downsized her house. She had removed the clutter in her house and she was moving into a smaller house. She was fixing her new home in such a way where she could accommodate what she wanted to keep and give away whatever she didn't want to keep. That's a skill in itself.
Absolutely.
And the fact is that she was also a part of a bereavement group. And I said, listen, what you are doing is so amazing. Why don't you go and talk to other people in the bereavement group as to what you've done? And right there on the first day, she just said, this is what I'm doing and this is how I decided to declutter. Just talk to them about what you did. And that got her 3 clients because everybody was, people in grief don't want to do stuff. They want things to be done for them or they just don't want to touch it. Well, if you teach them how to do it, they'll do it, right? So she was, by talking to others about her story, it allowed her to get 3 more clients and people were very happy to pay her. So that was one. One lady I met, she was renovating her grandmother's house that she had purchased in Italy. The house itself was 12, could house 12 people.
Okay.
It had a kitchen. This was before Airbnb, the Airbnb concept, right?
Okay, that's a big
and
house.
And she was like, what am I going to do with this house? And I said, who doesn't want to go to Italy? I mean, you're sitting on a gold mine and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
That year, we talked about, I want to say June, but that year, she took 74 people to Italy and came back. And she was very profitable. Within a year, she had made all her renovation money.
Okay.
Now, and then we coached together, right? So there were so many things. But then I said, I can see your niches. I see when you tell me what you're doing, I can see the gold you have. I just have to be the miner to mine it out from you. Yeah. That's how I became the niche navigator.
That's incredible. And it's so important. I've seen in the coaching world, there is a lot of that confusion in terms of like self-development and a lot of it can be like just information overload. They call it drinking from the fire hose. I've invested in coaching myself in from a few different world teachers and I've learned a lot from it. But, there is, that what you talked about, that people are looking outside of themselves, how other people did it to really understand how they should do it. And there isn't a lot of the conversation, the creative one that you have this gift for seeing someone's unique gifts and then drawing it out of them. And it's funny because that's actually why we started and why we call Lightheart Vision a profound education association and co-creative endeavor, which is the acronym for peace. By the way, is like we really believe that we can live together in an era of love and peace that is our responsibility, but it goes back to the root word of education. And that word is to educe, and it means to draw or bring out what is within. It's not about, piling all this information and then trying to squeeze it all together, package it, and do it. So it's about bringing the unique voice. So you have this ability to see that, and a good coach. What's the saying? You can't see your own label. So a good coach can see your label, and you have this gift. So how are you using this gift? I understand that you're a podcast host. You work obviously one-on-one with people, and like, how has this gift changed your life?
It's changed my life significantly because, first of all, I didn't know I had this gift, right? Just talking to people allowed me to see. And then I was
Mm,
like, I was talking to the lady with the bereavement group, and I was like, I'm good. She goes, thank you so much for helping me navigate to my niche. That was her words. And I said, yeah, I can be the niche navigator. And I said, oh, this is such a wonderful title. Thank you so much. So we all both came up with it. The thing is, when I talk to people, I ask them, what is it that you want?
mm,
And 99% of the people know what they want, but they don't know what they want.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Because they know what they want is like what other people have, right?
Okay.
So, um, are you okay living in a 1,000 square feet home?
Are you
Or
asking
do
me?
you
Oh, yeah, yeah.
or do you should you have a 3,500 square feet home,
Gotcha. Yeah.
right? So what is it that you want?
Mm-hmm.
And some people are going to say, oh, I don't know. Well, I've had four different homes,
Mm-hmm.
except for the one my husband and I sold together, which was 3,800 square feet, which was too big. I felt lost.
Yeah.
So I could never live in a castle.
Yeah.
I'm okay with a 1,000 square feet home. One, it's easy to clean. You
Yes.
don't clutter stuff. Yeah. So those things also, but you have to think about where do you want to be in life?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you okay living in a smaller home and then traveling?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you okay? Do you need a big home? So
Yeah.
those are the things, right? This is just an example. Cars. Do you need a Tesla or can you work with a 5-year-old car?
Mm-hmm.
If it
Mm-hmm.
takes you from point A to B and it's not asking for work all the time, then
Yeah.
it's okay to have that car.
Yeah.
So those are the questions you ask. And when you ask somebody, what is it that you want? Everybody that I have spoken to will always start thinking. They've
Mm.
never thought about this. It's something that they have to start thinking about.
Yeah.
What is it that you want?
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll say, like the guy that I spoke to on LinkedIn, I said, I want to help people. And he goes, explain people.
Mm.
Men, older women, or younger women. Do you want to help kids? Do you want to help teenagers? What do you want to do? So he put a lot of thought process in my head. I never spoke to him again because I
Yeah.
think I think he unfriended me or something on LinkedIn, if there is such a thing. But those questions, that conversation that I had for an
Mm-hmm.
hour was really thought provoking that allowed me to open a lot of doors in my world.
Okay.
So that's a question, right? And you have to start asking, what is it that you want? If you're in the coaching space, if you're in the author space, first of all, why do you want your story to be heard? There's so
Mm-hmm.
many authors. If you go to any library, any place, there's so many books everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you want to add one to the mix? But what is it that you have that's so unique that you
Mm-hmm.
why is it that your story is so unique and why do you want to share that?
Mm.
So those are the questions we got to ask, right? And as the niche navigator, when I ask people these things, they we always want to mirror other people.
Mm-hmm.
Like for example, you said you've taken coaching lessons from world gurus, and I'm just going to pick on Tony Robbins, right?
Yeah.
He's so big. He's
Yeah.
so big, but he didn't plan out to be so big, right?
Right.
If
Yeah.
you listen to his stories, he was even hungry so many days that he
Yeah.
didn't have food on days.
Yeah.
But but those are the things. I mean, he became so big because he shared his ideas. I mean, look
Yeah.
at Simon Sinek. He worked in HR for God's sakes, and
Yeah.
now he talks about leadership training. So
Yeah.
when you look at people like that, do you want to be like him? So when I looked at the John Maxwell team, then I was with another group of ladies, and these three sisters have opened up doors for everybody, all women out to entrepreneurs for them, and
Mm.
they are such a huge family. So I asked, I can never be like them because they're 1,000 steps ahead of me.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot be like them because I don't have a sister.
Yeah.
And those three sisters did something very unique. Now,
Yeah.
what can I do
Mm-hmm.
to make myself seen, heard, visible in the world, right?
Yeah.
And so my first podcast was very clunky. I mean, it's still on YouTube if you ever want to go and watch it, anybody listening out there. But
Okay.
the thing is, you refine and define, and consistency is the key. I've had, when I first started, I didn't have a rhyme or reason. I didn't have a timetable. Anytime this person was available, I was talking to them. And there
Mm-hmm.
were times when I would talk to people about, midnight in the United States, and they would be somewhere else in the world. And I said, no, then I learned how to streamline. Now you have to watch other people and learn,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to figure out where your voice is going,
Yeah.
where your story is. I have always been curious. I met my brothers 4 weeks ago. My brothers, and I met them in Lisbon.
Okay. Okay. Nice.
And so the thing is, I talked, and we were at a restaurant in Lisbon, and I started talking to the waiter,
Mm.
and I started asking him. Now, this guy has come from Bangladesh. This is a country in
Yep. Yep.
Asia. And he came from Bangladesh. He's talking to us about how he's starting out, and he's moved here, and he's trying
Mm-hmm.
to gather his paperwork so he can get his family out here. So just asking questions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, me asking questions, my brothers are like that, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
because I've always asked
Mm-hmm.
questions, and
Mm-hmm.
I've always been the curious type where I wanted to know what your story is about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that curiosity allowed me, those 28 people who I was just talking to
Mm-hmm.
were my first people that started my podcast, right?
Okay.
And I
Wonderful.
asked them permission. Can I put this on there for the world to hear? I don't know if they've ever gone and heard it back, but
Yep.
they'll deny every word. That was the clunky part of it. But
Yeah.
the fact is that I met these people, I talked to them, and they
Mm-hmm.
shared stuff. And
Yeah.
I said, there is so much knowledge out there.
Absolutely.
And as us as podcasters and hosts,
Mm-hmm.
we want those stories to be heard,
Yeah.
because many people just die with their stories.
Yeah.
They live inside, they don't say anything, and then they just die. So
Yeah.
why aren't we just sharing our stories?
It's a good question. It's a really great question. And I think that you and I have this in common, is I've always had a profound interest in other individuals. Like I think I mentioned to you right before we got on, even if someone thinks they're boring, I find them unique and interesting because we all have such unique journeys that give us these stories about who we've become and who we are becoming, and that's part of why vision is there in our name. Is like we all have something that's calling to us, whether we have a clarity of it or not. Like there's something that drives us forward, and you have managed to synthesize a lot of these gifts and to help people. It sounds like even in your day-to-day life and meeting waiters and things like that. I love asking questions to people as well, and I really appreciate that about you. And two, I also want to just bring up. You mentioned Tony Robbins. Like I'm very grateful for Tony Robbins. I actually only started with a coach after doing a date with Destiny, which totally changed my life. I had some transformative stories. If you're interested, I could share some of them here. But doing that was the reason that I met Julia. She wasn't at the event. It was the first time they did a COVID during COVID. It was the first time they did an online event. So I was in a farmhouse with one of my best friends and people I just met, two other women, and we just played full out and went, into just all of our inner programming and looked at a lot of the inner wiring. And it was a reminder of me of the importance of doing that inner work. Like I'd already like been an experienced meditator and all this, but I did notice that afterwards, kind of like being plunged into this world, there was this tendency to like look at some of these, gurus, as you mentioned, that the ones that shine the light on some of the inner things that need to be exposed. But we tend to idolize them and look up to them like the rock stars and like, and I think what you're doing is really important because you're really making you're bringing the person a reflection of who they really are and making them feel at home with themselves and doing that, it sounds like. Um, do you find that like you talked a little bit about everyone having this unique journey and calling has or want like knowing what they want, and that's really important. What would you say, have you encountered anyone that really has no clarity of what they want, or just by asking these inquiring questions are you able to really help them see themselves in a new way?
It takes time. So most
Hmm.
people have a path they want to take, right? Like I said, if somebody wants to follow what I want to do, what Tony is doing, and I'm going to follow what Tony is doing, and
Yeah.
I'm going to follow what John Maxwell. He's my guru or whatever, but he's the leadership king, right?
Hmm.
There's nobody like him. He talks about leadership. He's talked about so many books that he's written on
Hmm.
leadership, and everything is so different and unique, and he takes his lessons from the higher calling. But he is talking leadership. I'm talking leadership in my own way because
Yeah.
I'm teaching you to figure out what you want first,
Hmm.
right? And then go share that light with somebody else. If you don't light your own candle, you can't light somebody else's. So
Yeah.
you got to figure out where is your candle, and then
Hmm.
light it. Find the light to switch on your light so that you can share that. Because if you are in a, if you know like they have vigils and stuff, and then they pass the candle on, so you just light one candle and pass it on, but you can't do that if you haven't, one, don't have a candle,
Yeah.
and two, you haven't lit yours, so you can't share the light. So that's a very easy metaphor, but you have to figure this out, right? You
Yes.
have to figure it's this out. So I in my own unique ways, okay, now you've got your niche. I teach you figure out your niche. There's so many people who are completely clueless. They want to
Hmm.
follow John Maxwell. They want to follow, but what is it that you have? Like, let's take inventory about what you have.
Yeah.
What have you done in your past life? Like, what skills do you bring? How can you utilize without cleaning the slate out,
Yeah.
taking what you have and then rebuilding?
Hmm.
We buy Lego sets all the time, right? I have grandkids, so we
Yeah.
buy Lego sets. And then the thing is, they'll build something to the expectation of whatever the Lego set has, and
Hmm.
it completely and wonderfully. But then they'll dismantle it and they'll create their own imagination.
Hmm.
So the fact is, can we do that with our skills? You have the pieces.
Yeah.
Can we create something new?
Yeah.
Create something new that's completely not what you are supposed to do with the owner's manual, but let's figure something out, something completely new. And let's take pictures and show off, right? Okay, what did you do? So that's what we have to do. I mean, we think of, I watch my grandkids play and I think, it's so wonderful to see them in their own world because so
Hmm.
they're such wonderful creators,
Yeah.
and they teach me, because if they didn't teach me I wouldn't be a coach.
Hmm.
They teach me how
Yeah.
to coach, and the examples I use also are so wonderful because I learn from them. Kids are the most notorious. They're very good negotiators.
Hmm.
they'll negotiate their way out. But can I do? But if you do this, can I do that? They are
Yeah.
very good negotiators. So learn from them. If you are in an entrepreneur business,
Yeah.
learn from the kids. You don't have
Yeah.
to go to a big guru. Just figure
Yeah.
it out. And if you argue with the kid, they'll always win. In most sense, if you're not the parent, then of course parents win all the time. But they'll always win because you have to listen to their logic.
Mm.
And if you learn from that, you'll understand how they're such wonderful teachers.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there are people who are completely different, clueless. I told the guy, I said, I want to help people. So, what do you, who, how? What are you going to do? Are you going to give them food? Are you going to clothe them? I mean, there's so many ways to help people. What are we
Totally.
going to do? So
Yeah.
there's so many different aspects to what is it that you want to do, but we got to catch one. I wanted to go into businesses and teach this and that and everything until I realized, that my love for people
Mm.
is so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing in all of my trials and tribulations in life, the only thing that I could go back to was my podcast.
Mm.
I would my husband was on dialysis, so I would take him to
Mm.
dialysis. And then while he was there for 3 hours, I would come back home and, interview somebody for half an hour. And that made
Okay.
me happy because
Yeah.
it allowed me to be in my own world. So this
Yeah.
was my world. So if this was something that makes me happy, then I should continue it.
Yeah.
And I've seen podcasts come, podcasts go. People, I'm not taking any more guests. I'm just burnt out, but
Okay.
I feel vibrant, right?
Yeah.
So I tell the listeners here is, if you're clueless, let's figure out what is it that you love,
Mm.
because in that what you love, there's so many lessons and you can share those with people. But you also have to figure, and you also have to walk with, what is your why, why
Yeah.
do you want to do this, and why is that so important to you?
Yeah. Wow, there's so much wisdom, and I love how you've interconnected so many valuable teachings around coaching, listening to children, conscious parenting, and really getting to your why. I think that's a core thing we hear about a lot in the business world, like starting from why that you mentioned Simon Sinek, and like so much of what you said, and what I really admire about you, Munira, is that you really make things simple. And I think that's how children are really our greatest teachers, right? Because in all their skills, they're exploring from a creative lens. We know they're in probably more alpha state of being, and they're just open to life being this creative process. And we really see that as like I'll speak just for myself. Like to me, Luciana, our daughter, she's my greatest teacher. She's teaching me stuff all the time. She's teaching me the value of presence on a whole other level. Like I had a lot of that teaching before from my background in Indigenous wellness, knowing how to be really present when people are talking and circle and get out of our way and get out of our head. And but I find her, like, she is so attuned and listening all the time. My subtlety, I have to really listen to her so I can listen to myself better. Like she's such a mirror to me. I really think she's a more advanced soul than I am, and I really value being around children. So that's a really wonderful bridge in terms of bringing those things together. You mentioned your podcast. Tell us more about your podcast. I was talking earlier. You said you've had over 600 guests in your podcast, and you talk about it lighting you up. And I can relate to you. Like I always get off these podcasts, I feel so energized because I love connecting with people. And so tell us about your journey as a podcaster and how that's given that upliftment in your life. And yeah, what are some key things that you've learned along the way there?
Oh, so the, I think so my next segment is, after I've teach people how to figure out their niche, what is it that you do with your niche? Now
Yeah.
what?
Okay.
Now you've got your niche, now what, right?
Hmm.
So the next segment is, okay, you have to talk about your niche,
Yeah.
right? So when I saw people coming in on my podcast, the 28, my first, I will always cherish those 28. And so when they came to me, two or three of them realized, you know what, they could just talk about what they were doing, and they were happy with what they were doing. And I put my stuff on YouTube at that. No, I put my stuff on Zoom, but wasn't doing anything with it. Then one of them told me, she goes, "Can I get the recording so then um, I could share it with my people." And that was the green light bulb moment, right? Sharing.
Yeah.
Now at that time, I'm talking about, there was no TikTok, there was no Instagram at that
Yeah.
time. Facebook was heavy, LinkedIn was heavy. So what she did, I watched her do it. She had a software, I don't even know what it was, and she made little minis, and she took pictures, more pictures, and she said, "I was talking to Munira about this." What happened in that episode, there was like, this was the seventh or eighth person that I'd spoken to. What happened was, she knew marketing, I guess. she what happened was, in LinkedIn, people started asking her questions, what she had
Mm.
talked about, what she was sharing, and can they get the recording.
Okay.
Okay, so that was part of it. That was number one. And then number two, I was like, I'm going to keep this for myself. I don't want to share it. But you had to share it.
Yeah.
And the pictures which she was sharing, what happened was, other people started coming to me, the people that she knew, said,
Mm.
"Can we talk to you?" So and then after that happened, and then like 3 or 4 podcasts later, this one lady said, "After I was on your podcast, and she called it a podcast. After I was on your show, I was invited to do 3 more shows."
Okay. Wow.
And so the thing is, I realized that the people who came on my platform were getting recognition. So this
Yeah.
was something new. They are now 4.97 billion podcasts in the
Wow.
world.
Wow.
And
There's that many
30,
podcasts for, like, you mean episodes, right? Not like actual podcasts.
no, podcasts.
There's
Like
four
people who
point
have
nine
podcasts, 4.97 billion.
million or billion. I think it
Million.
would be million. Yeah. Yeah. That
Million.
makes sense. Okay. Yep.
And the podcast industry is 39 point, I want to say close to $40 billion. It's a
Wow.
$40 billion industry, and people are making a lot of money.
Hmm.
So this is an industry. It has
Yeah.
become, it's a media industry, and whether you like it or not, you and I both are in media, and people are consuming this
Yeah.
content. So the question is, why are we starting new podcasts when we can go and be on somebody else's podcast? So two things happened, right? I realized that people want to be on my show. They want to talk to me. They want
Yep.
to tell me stuff.
Yep.
Well, if you want to tell me stuff, then hello, come on. I'm the curious type. I want you, right? I want you to
Yep.
tell me. So that was one thing.
Okay.
And two, by sharing audiences, what happened was, the people who knew my guest now know me,
Mm-hmm.
and the people who know me now knew my guest.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we were sharing audiences.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn very quickly about how to put stuff on YouTube.
Yep.
Now, it wasn't until 2 years later that I figured out how I'm going to, Spotify was free,
Yeah.
and I could put stuff on there and it would remain there. But I had to learn all of these things. There was no class you could take.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then my quest began, is like, I need to grow my podcast. I need to share everything there is. So then, learning from everybody,
Mm-hmm.
and now you have a YouTube university, you can learn anything there. So you just put stuff in there and you start learning how to share. But those two ladies had started the first sharing program, because I didn't
Okay.
want to share my thing. I was like, no,
Yeah.
I'm not going to share it. But then I started uploading stuff, and then, now it's become a rhythm, right? You do
Yeah.
a podcast, now you upload it, now you share it, you send stuff, you send emails, you tell everybody to go find your podcast. And people who are going to follow you are going to follow you. One, they want to know what the next guest is. What are they going to share?
Yeah.
600 guests. We've cried, we've laughed, we've shared intimate stories,
Yep.
grief stories, because life, you're not just an entrepreneur.
Right.
knowing you for just a few minutes, Nathaniel, you're a new parent. You've gone through from not having a child to a 20-month-old kid.
Yeah.
You've gone through sickness and health and,
Hmm.
ups and downs, and you're listening to this 20-year-old. I've lived longer than you. I've got big older children, so I've got grandkids.
Hmm.
There's grief, there's there's life, there's death, there's,
Yeah.
business. You work jobs, you lose jobs. There's so many things that we have to go through in life. So it's
Yeah.
not just your business, but there's
Right.
also things that affect you in such a way that allows you to grow in a
Hmm.
different way, and you
Hmm.
want those people to share that for you.
Absolutely.
What happens, like we talked about COVID, we talked about the market crashing. What happened to those people? What happened
Hmm.
then? Like right now there's so many people in the United States who are losing their jobs,
Hmm.
and what's going to happen to them, or what are they feeling, what are they going through. And if they came to my show and they told me a story, their story needs to be heard.
Hmm.
And my love of stories was just, and I'll tell you, I was very young
Yeah, we want to
when.
hear your story.
Right. I was
Yeah.
very young, and my dad used to go to different, like he would have business dinners and things like that. And I would always tell him, okay, if you're gonna go somewhere and you're gonna take me to Saku auntie. I could call her Saku auntie. She was a little 4 feet tall lady. Very. She
Okay.
hardly had any hair. I don't
Mm.
remember any hair because she would just like, I'm combing my hair, but I would think she's bald, because she's that old. But she was my babysitter, and I loved her because she would tell me stories. And these were real. She would talk
Mm.
about her life, and she
Yeah.
had gone for Hajj from Africa to Saudi Arabia. They would go on a ship,
Hmm.
and at one time coming back, the ship caught fire.
Wow.
And in the Indian Ocean, she says the people are jumping in the ocean, but there's sharks there. And she goes, I saw sharks, and I was like, always, are you telling me the truth? But she
Mm.
would describe it very well. So I would,
Yeah.
and she never, every time she told me the story, it never changed. So I knew she was telling me the truth, or she
Mm.
had really memorized it. She's gone now, long gone.
Mm.
But she allowed me and opened this world of stories to me.
Mm.
My grandfather was the same way because he was a businessman, tradesman. He would be on a ship going to India, coming back, going to Muscat, going to Aden, in Yemen and all that. So he would pass
Yeah.
all the ports and he would tell us stuff. He didn't have anything to show for it because he never believed in souvenirs. I don't think
Mm.
there was a concept at that time. But he would always talk to me and he would share stories about the spices and the smells, and he would make it so alive for me.
Yeah.
So that I feel that if those two people have infused my life with so much stories and tellings, that everybody has something to share. Come on out.
Absolutely.
Let's just hear
Yeah.
what you got to share. It's not always just about how I did my business,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you must have, if you're a successful entrepreneur,
Hmm.
you put your blood, sweat, and tears together to get it done.
Yeah.
But nobody saw the quiet tears you shed, and
Yeah.
the anguish and the worry.
Hmm.
What am I going to do now?
Yeah.
And if there is a time, it's nobody's just overnight. There's no success overnight.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that there was success overnight. You had to put in the work. I mean, we look at Musk and we look at Bezos right now,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
all of these people have made it. They are so rich.
Yeah.
They're so rich that they don't even need to count the zeros after whatever. But they had to put in the sweat.
Yeah.
The sweat equity is there, and then you become where you got to go, and we all are doing it. So I want to hear your story. I don't want to hear Bezos' story
Hmm.
because everybody knows it. But if I ever had a chance to interview him, I would love to have him on my show and ask him, hey, what were the points where you decided I'm not doing this anymore?
Yeah. It's interesting. I think that when you're really interesting in other people's stories, it helps them perceive themselves from a new vantage point as well, right? Because I feel like one of the things we have in common as human beings is we all want to be heard, and we all want to be received and loved. And that interest, that curiosity that you bring is really valuable, because it might be, I feel like we tell our stories to people because we're trying to understand ourselves in the mirrors of life as well, to get to a new level, or maybe just to wake up to the simplicity of who we really are. Um, it seems to me that we're all spiritual beings having a spiritual experience. I hear often, we're spiritual beings having a human experience, but to me, this is part of the larger unfolding. And I mean, I've had a very colorful story in my life, and it is really the heart of Light Heart Vision and why we're doing what we're doing. It's if that flame that you talk about, it to me is embodied in our daughter, and her name means light. And we have the story of her home birth. I caught her, and she looked in my eyes. But even leading up to that moment of pure presence and witnessing the miracle and beauty of life, I feel like I've always been intrigued by, as a young boy, how miraculous everything is. I remember looking at the water striders on in the creeks growing up in Alberta, and just spending so much time in nature, and just so much wonderment. And one of the things I really wondered about was I look and listen to the quote unquote adults or grown-ups around me, and everyone had really like forgotten that really the miraculous was present with us. And I
Right.
would listen to them, and that to me was a curious thing. Like, we've normalized miracles, and or am I just weird that I'm seeing this? But to me, it's like, these things are inexplicable, and we have science, but still, even that's like this unraveling mystery. We don't really understand all of it. So I love that you see that importance and help bring those unique values and gifts out in other people. And so it sounds like you were starting to talk about the purpose of your podcast. So now that you saw your gift as being the niche navigator, now do you use your podcast to like help others hear many perspectives so that they can kind of get more clarity on how to bring their things into the world, their gifts?
Well, right now, no, I don't do that, but that's
Okay.
something good way to, segue into something else. But no, what I bring when I bring people, what I'm doing now is I'm teaching people. Okay, you've got your niche now. Give your, you talk to people in the business community. When you speak to different people, they'll tell you, I'm an accountant,
Mm.
or I'm a physical therapist. Oh, I
Hmm.
am just this. What exactly do you like? If you are an accountant, what do you specialize in?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
if you're a lawyer, then what do you specialize in?
Yeah.
There's so many different things, right?
Sure.
Like, even in this trunk of being a lawyer, there's so many different branches.
Hmm.
There's something so amazing in all of that, but people don't talk about it. So it really bothers me when I go into a networking event and they say, I am only a chiropractor, or I'm just a
Hmm.
lawyer, or I'm a paralegal. What do you specialize in?
Hmm.
I mean, if I had a heart condition, I would really want to go to a cardiologist, not a
Yeah.
family practice doctor. Of course, the family guy would tell me, go see a cardiologist, but you have to specialize in something. So if
Yeah.
it works in the medical field, why can't it work in the business field? So if
Do you,
you
sorry.
go ahead,
No,
you
please.
have a question.
I do. Yeah, because I wonder about this too, because we tend to segregate our roles in life. Like we'll say, I'm a doctor, I'm a lawyer, this or that. But then often these folks may have like things that are juxtaposed or very different. Like maybe, the lawyer really likes to go on a skateboard, or the doctor really likes to do extreme motorcycle racing or something, and
Hey,
maybe they don't see those two, because our world is really based, like Western society especially, is really comes from that, that the philosophical basis in, like, the Greek times, and compartmentalizing everything. Aristotle broke all the emotions into things, and it's very hierarchical is what I'm getting to, whereas many of our indigenous heritages honor that whole human being, right?
right,
So,
right.
so why do you think that people have that difficulty in like letting themselves be whole? Is it they're, yeah, like I'm just wondering, and having
They
interviewed
don't
so many
share.
people.
See,
Mm,
the thing is, we have to keep ourselves private or else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I've seen. I work with I'm in a group of over 1,000 entrepreneurs, and they will never explain themselves or share themselves. It's why are you not sharing? Tell
Mm.
me what you do, right?
Yeah.
So my podcast is a way, if you come and talk to me, what is it exactly that you do, and why do you do what you do?
Okay.
And just so that you break out your shell.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I'm trying to do, is give your business a voice, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole campaign now. Give yourself a voice. I mean, I myself wrote a book 2020, and
Okay.
didn't tell anybody. Sold
Okay.
18 copies of it, but
That's
I
pretty good
was
for not
on
telling
there.
anybody.
Yeah, good, because I shared with some people, but
Yes.
then no, 18 people bought the
Okay.
book, but I never made any
Hmm.
money on it
Yeah.
until I'm like, why am I not telling people I'm an author?
Mm.
Oh, you're not. We have come into this society, or this methodology or some kind of psychology, where we decide and say, I'm not going to share that. Why?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because people think I'm bragging.
Yeah.
um, you have bragging rights, duh. You haven't written a book, Nathaniel. I have the bragging rights.
How do you
When
know I
you
haven't
write,
written a book?
I mean, I'm just
I
saying.
know.
I don't.
I'm
Yeah,
teasing you. I'm teasing you.
if you have
Yeah.
written a book, then you would be bragging. Hey, I wrote a book too.
Well, it's actually really interesting you bring that up because we are very much conditioned as social creatures to not in Canada. I actually asked this question because I've done a lot of work in an entrepreneurship incubator at the college that I used to work with, and I asked the manager there who runs the space this very question, and I said, why is this? And in Canada, he said, there's something called the tall poppy syndrome, and he's like, there's this understanding that we're all poppies, and if you stick up too much and you shine too bright, you're gonna get trimmed, So kind of everyone, so it's socially encouraged that we don't brag and be and don't appear to be egotistical about ourselves. How have you found like that? To draw that out in a way that really preserves that authenticity so that people aren't really bragging, but they're really showing up to be of service like you have found, beautiful way of being of service.
So let me tell you about this one guy I brought into my podcast. He said he wanted to be on my podcast. He came on. He was wonderful. He wouldn't, like, I asked him questions. Tell me a little bit about myself. Tell me a little bit about yourself. He's very clunky, doesn't want to talk about anything, until I started talking to him about what he was really doing. What he was
Okay.
doing, he was creating an app.
Okay.
And and I don't remember the intricacies of it, but he was like, if it was going to help the young folks in high school with
Hmm.
math, right?
Okay.
And they could do math like that. Like, I am not a math person, so what is that? Oh my God. Uh, not oh, oh my god, this is a blank. So they sponge, they have to do this in junior high school, and for the life of me, of course I can't remember it, but that was one segment that would allow the kids to use the app in such a way that would make this understanding of the concepts better.
Mm.
Okay, now
Hmm.
I come from East Africa. We did everything, handwritten, math and
Hmm.
everything. So when I was going to college in the United States and I was doing a statistics class, we had to use the scientific calculator.
Yeah.
I would go to class an hour early to sit with the teacher to use how to teach me. He would teach me how to use the scientific calculator to
Yeah.
pass the exam. And
Okay.
I was like, I've never used this before, but if you give me math, I will do math for you, and the answers are always right. I do that way, but that was how I was brought up. Oh,
You
it's not
sound like a
algebra.
math person if you're
I'm
able
not.
to do that.
No, I could do easy stuff, right?
Yeah.
So
So he was telling you about his app that he
calculus,
developed.
this
Yeah.
calculus,
Okay.
that's the word. So I had to figure that out. So I couldn't do calculus. So the thing is, he was bringing. So when we started talking to him about calculus, he's just shown, like, he just went from boring to very bright and
Okay.
talking about this. And I knew nothing about what he spoke about. I promise you that. But when he lit up and it allowed him to just talk about his wares and
Yeah.
his knowledge, it came through. I was just
Mm.
awed. It allowed me to see, this was very early. It was maybe my 80th or 90, between 80
Yeah.
and 90, one of those episodes. And he just came on and he talked to me about it. And the fact that he was just like, I don't remember the concepts he shared because I'm not a math person. But I'll tell you one thing, when he was talking,
Mm.
he was glowing.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is like when you talk about your passion, it just shows up, right? It
Yeah.
just shows up. So why aren't you talking about your passion? You are who you are. You
Hmm.
are
Hmm.
a podcaster, you are an author, you are a father, you are, there's no such thing that I'm going to be a father at 7, from 7 to 8 I'm not going to be a father. You
Yeah.
can't do that. You're
Yeah.
still a father, you're just
Right.
not with the baby, but you're still there. So you are all these persons, you're wearing
Mhm.
all these different hats. But what are you wearing right now, and how are you showing up with
Mhm.
wearing that hat? That shows me that there was a I Love Lucy. I don't know if you know that.
Yep. Yep.
There is a episode about they go to somewhere. They go to a road trip, and they go to an inn, and the guy was like, "Oh, you guys are not married." Because she's going to New York to get her birth certificate, something like that. And so, "Oh, you're not married. You're going to sleep on separate things." So and then I'm the police. I'm going to give you a ticket. So he wears the police hat. Then he's the justice of peace. So he wears the justice of peace hat. So he had a lot of hats, but he was
Yep.
the one person who governed everything in that inn, right?
Okay.
So you are like that. You wear a different hat.
Yeah.
After talking to me, you'll go to the kitchen, make a sandwich, you'll become a cook. Are you going to put the chef's
Yeah.
hat on? So you are that person.
Hmm.
But just because you're in business doesn't mean you're not that person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you're an accountant, you're still a mother, you're still a father, you're still the breadwinner, or you're still the grocery shopper or whatever. You still do that stuff, but
Hmm.
you still have a job, right?
Yeah.
So in that same segment, there are some people, when we talk about it, we, like you said, you compartmentalize. We shouldn't, because you're that one
Yeah.
person. You can't just say at from 8 to 9 I'm going to be the chef, from 9 to 12 I'm going to be the
Hmm.
father. Then what's good the kid going to do? So, oh, I don't have a father between 8 and 9.
Yeah.
So that's the question. So the idea is, if you talk about what you want to talk about
Yeah.
and you give your business a voice, more people, one, remember you because
Yeah.
you've talked about stories. Two, if they are looking at a Rolodex
Mhm.
and they're thinking, if somebody says, I'm looking for an accountant, then they know, hey, you know what? If I can refer you to this person, I may have not worked with it, but seems compatible. Why don't you talk to them and see if they can help you? So that's referral, right? And that's what networking is all about.
Yeah. Yeah, I see kind of the arc of this whole conversation, Munira, as I was listening to you originally. You were talking about how a lot of things were revealed to you. I like to think of those as divine breadcrumbs. Like we do have a mastermind behind us, however we want to call it. We have a relationship with the source of life, the one who gives us all breath and being, and I believe that is in all of us. And it's interesting because I'm reflecting, listening to you, and realizing the importance of your perspective, especially in this modern world where we tend to pardon me, compartmentalize ourselves so much. It's funny. I just started a school community for Light Heart Vision, SKOOL, and I love it so much on school because I'm able to be my authentic self, but all aspects of me are showing up there. Like I have a very strong, highbrow comedic self who loves simply exposing the truth and the things we say. I look at a lot of the language we use and say, like the beliefs we have about ourselves, but I love approaching it in a way that causes, thought and laughter and expansiveness. And to me, humor is a big part of my relationship with creator because, I've been woken up from dreams where I'm actually on a stage doing stand-up comedy, and I have a whole bit, and I wake up and I'm like, whoa, I was doing stand-up. I'll like write these dreams down. I've actually gone and done it a couple times. That's a whole story. It's funny, and our stories really are what make us interesting, and it's also what makes life so worthwhile. So you pulling that out of people and seeing the value of people just kind of lightening up a little bit. That's part of why like Lightheart Vision is called Lightheart Vision. It's like we think there's too much seriousness. Like if we're on if we're on a mission for world enlightenment and creating our acronym for home is heaven on Mother Earth, well, it's got to be fun. It's got to light you up. It's got to be something that pulls you and makes you want to show fully up your as yourself. So I want to just say thank you for doing that work, and especially bringing it into the coaching world where so much focus can be on high level achievements, growing your monetarily, which is important obviously to run business, but there's like the seriousness that is often there. So I really appreciate that you bring that, you know, what I believe, Christ was talking about when he said, only through the eyes of the child. I think all the masters, from Buddha to Muhammad, and all of them have given us different lenses of the same truth. It's like, if love is our foundation and our creator is given us everything in love, like we need to be that. And the best examples of that, as you've reminded us so beautifully in this conversation, is our children. They show us how to just show up authentically, creatively, in love with life, and they'll negotiate the heck out of us, like they get what they want. My little daughter, she grabs my hand and she pulls me in a direction. She doesn't even ask. She's just like, I'm doing this, we're doing this, and
Right.
she knows what she wants, and she hasn't lost that. And we want to preserve that because I think there's genius hidden in that.
Every kid out there, if you just observe them, they are just amazing. Let me just tell you something that I got a few days ago.
Okay.
Somebody sent it to me. She says, this is a quote by Nisargadatta Maharaj.
Okay.
I don't know who he is, but he says, once you realize that the road is the goal and that you're always on the road,
Hmm.
not to reach a goal, but to enjoy its beauty and its wisdom,
Hmm.
life ceases to be a task and becomes a natural and simple in itself an ecstasy.
Ah, wow.
So it just hit me
Yeah.
because the fact is we always feel like where do you want to go
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
what's the goal? But we forget that the journey has to be enjoyed as well.
Yeah.
So we all are on a journey. We all
Yeah.
as entrepreneurs, coaches, authors, you yourself as a podcast host, myself as a guest and a host, and we try to think, what is the end goal here?
Hmm.
But we forget that along the way, where we enjoy the people that we've met and the destinations you've
Yeah.
created and stopped at, so it's just enjoy the journey
Yeah.
because everybody is so engrossed in getting to where we need to get to,
Yeah.
we forget about enjoying the journey. And
Yeah.
it's been said so many different ways, but this guy just pulled the word, he pulled the emotion out of me.
Yeah.
So
There's deep wisdom there. Yeah, I mean, I've reflected a lot on what is important. This question was asked to me like 20, 25 years ago now. What is important? And it's such a simple question, but it really is a really one of those eternal questions that can really bring you to the truth if you keep asking it, like who am I, or what is love, or what is life? All these deep questions that don't really have they're open-ended answers, and that quote is such a beautiful expression of wisdom of someone who's clearly, you know, asked deeper questions, but also probably, fallen into the beliefs of those task, goals oriented, and has gained that level of wisdom. So speaking of wisdom, Munira, one thing I'd like to ask some guests who come on, especially when they have really beautiful purpose, and you like just empowering people to tell their stories, to share who they are authentically. What is your higher vision of our world where everyone is living from that place of their wholeness and their authenticity? And what is Munira doing in that world when everyone is thriving and flourishing in that way?
enjoying people.
Yeah.
the fact is, like, lately in the last 4 months, I realized that I need to step back
Mm,
and accept what is instead of what should be.
mm,
And that has allowed me peace. And the fact that, I'm at, and the other thing I've learned to do over the years, but I'm doing it more now, more consciously now, that listen,
mm.
just listen.
Yeah,
Because there's a lot of things that we miss if we are not listening.
yeah,
And if you just listen, you'll catch that there's so many wonderful things out there, so many wonderful people out there,
yeah,
and everybody has something to share. You
yeah,
don't have to be the one talking all the time.
yeah. That's so powerful. That's actually my definition of meditation is listening. I think it's just as simple as that. And I think, Neil Donald Walsh in his book Conversations with God, he asked God, like, why don't you talk to us? And God says, I'm talking to all of you all the time, but it's who's listening is the question, and there's so much wisdom in that. So I appreciate, such a profound, again, very much reminding of the simplicity, especially if we watch our children. Like, we went to go welcome Julia's childhood friend, just moved in. Her parents live a few doors down, and they just moved in across the street from them. And we went to their home for a welcome, and we brought her daughter, and her son is born 4 days. Her and her Luciana and her son Ben are born 4 days apart, just a couple of years ago. And watching them just run around this empty house. There's no toys in there. They're running around screaming, chasing each other, playing tag. Luciana's coming to hug him, and he won't have it. And they're all running around, but like this the joyful yelling of just play, and you summarize it in one word: enjoying people. And I think that's all that we really get to keep in the journey, is our relationships. And so what a beautiful expression of that. Um, so how can people find out more? What's your podcast called? Is it the Niche Navigator's podcast? Let us know how we can get in touch and learn more from you, Munira.
Well, my podcast began before the Niche Navigator came into play.
Oh, interesting. So we can
So,
see your unfolding.
right. So the thing is, if anybody wants to talk to me, they can go to the contact me page of the nichenavigator.com
Okay.
and just book a time. I'll reach out. We'll talk. We'll figure out a way to talk. My podcast is called Munira's Musings
Beautiful,
because it's
beautiful.
just how else can I be me, right?
Mhm.
Can I laugh? Can I cry? And I've done all of that, right? I told you that on
Yeah.
the podcast. So it's just me, not me talking about myself and just sharing stories or things which will come later. But the fact is that I have a guest and we talk about, but it's just musings, right? Because
Yeah.
it's supposed to be serious, but it's also supposed to be lighthearted. We laugh, we
Hmm.
make a joke. There are sometimes, it's been silly as well. So we just talk and we have fun. Idea is, let's just keep you talking,
Yeah.
and that's what it is all about.
Yeah. Well, we all need inspiration, right? And that's what the musing and the muses is really pulls us in. So it's so beautiful. I would imagine I'm going to check out your podcast and listen to it. I think it's so valuable to hear other people's perspectives. And like you said, those deep stories that we have, we don't always know someone until we really listen with an open heart, open mind. And I like how you talk about this era we're in. There's so much listening to podcasts. I think that's a testament to where people are at. I think there's a lot of people who are awakening to wanting deeper connection, to really listen to people's stories in a deeper way, and move past this, doom scrolling and constant hits of dopamine that people are often get on social media, and are looking for that authentic connection. So we will certainly include all of your contacts information in our in all of the platforms that we share in. And I want to thank you again for everything. Is there anything else that you would like to leave with our audience or share today with us?
Ladies and gentlemen, just keep talking. Give yourself a voice. I realized that I could do this in a better way. I'll just show you a little story.
Of
My
course.
uncle was here from Africa. My husband's uncle and his wife were here at my house. They come there, and I was cooking in the kitchen, and I just started asking him questions. And she's from Madagascar, my
Mm.
aunt, and he's from Dar es Salaam. And how do you two meet? And that was a story in itself.
Mm.
So this what I did was I wrote their stories together. I wrote it all
Beautiful.
down for them. I gave him a book. He doesn't want to publish it, but that's his prerogative. But he has a book, and I told him, he needs to share his story. The fact is that how do people connect, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know you yesterday. I
Yeah.
didn't know anything about you until I had to reach out and say, hey, I want to be on your podcast. Can I be on your podcast? So that's the thing. So reach out and connect
Yeah.
because you never know where your connections are going to take you.
Yeah.
Never know.
Yeah, I love that. I love how you have that. I see that passion in you, Munira, asking those really um, inspired questions of others and inviting them to talk and share their story. I'm gonna definitely take that to heart and reflect on the importance of that. I mean, I love asking people who they are, but I love that you took the result of that and actually gave someone a story. I mean, what a beautiful act of generosity. I really feel like generosity is the foundation of the next era when we are in harmony with one another in the lands. And so, thank you for being such a wonderful example of that. Thanks for being who you are. And yeah, we look forward to continuing to see you expand on your journey. And we'd love to have you back anytime. If you want to have a conversation with Julia, she has some beautiful stories to tell as well. And I know she would really love to get to know you also.
Thank you so much. I'm really honored and humbled to be on your show. Thank you so much, everybody. And please connect. Let's
Yeah,
have a conversation.
wonderful. Thank you so much. So grateful for you.